Hello there, Delver. Welcome back to Vaults Remastered, my story of taking a 5th edition game that I have abandoned and rebirthing it with Pathfinder 2nd edition remaster rules. Today's edition, I'm going to be continuing my conversation, my discussion with you of a brand new ancestry that I have not converted, but pretty much created from scratch into a playable ancestry for one of my new players for my game that is restarting in like 2 days from 3 days from today. And one of my new players wanted to play a Chitine, which is a Dungeons and Dragons creation, a monster. I think it stretches back to even second edition. It's a spider folk. It's a arachnid, half humanoid uh, drow, I believe, is its original ancestry that has been mutated into a spidery creature. So that was the main concept. I had to turn that into an ancestry. That's what I went over in my last video. So if you haven't seen that yet, that's probably because you haven't subscribed, you haven't clicked the notification bell, you haven't been following my channel. So go ahead and do that now so you don't miss future episodes. In the meantime, coming back to what we're doing today, we're going to take a look at these heritages that I came up with for this Weavling ancestry. So if you don't know anything about Pathfinder, you got ancestries are your races and the heritages are the sub races. So I've got a Weavling ancestry that I developed an entire lore and culture and naming system for last episode. And in this one, we're going to look at these heritages. What are these specific lineages, the specific bloodlines you can go down from the this ancestry's beginning. So let's take a look and see what I've done. So here's how I start this whole process. I've taken my template for heritages, which is this. I tell my muse, my AI assistant, Kathy, I refer to her as. This is ChatGPT. And I give her all my lore, all my stuff that I've come up with, all my ideas, all my notes, and I ask her to take all that and plug it into this or follow this heritage template, which is I want 6 lineage options for this ancestry. And I want them distinguishable from one another, so they have to be unique. And they should be the result of some long-term evolutionary force, environmental perhaps impacts, forces, cultural, behavioral, social, external, maybe alien something has changed the ancestry in different directions. And then each heritage needs to grant a player who decides to choose this creature as their PC has to grant them a unique ability at first level that's different from the basic ancestry abilities, which I talked about in the last video, and that fits the theme of this new lineage and is different from the other lineages. So again, that unique, that novelty. And then the basic format's gonna be this: a cool name, a cool picture, a little paragraph of lore that talks about the origin, the history, a description of this lineage, this heritage, and then that ability, that unique thematic ability, something that's equal in oomph and interest to an ancestry ability. Then, hey, where did we leave off last episode? Well, here's where I was. And the reason I need to mention this again is because when we're developing the heritage abilities, we don't want to redo what we've done already. And we also want to use the ancestry abilities and mechanics to direct uh, potential heritage abilities that can augment or amplify these. So the basic mechanics here for my Weavling are it's 6 HP. It can be small if you're the males, medium sized if you're female, 25-foot movement speed, dexterity, wisdom, and a freebie are your boosts. Strength is your ancestral flaw. Undercommon and Elvish would be a couple languages you would likely know. That's because the Weavling's origin is from the poor silvery elves who have slowly become corroded, tainted, tarnished by their exposure to the Darklands energies around them since being stuck here a few centuries ago. And they are slowly turning into what I'm calling the Morshael, or what you would know as the Drow from Dungeons and Dragons. Anyway, they have the traits of a Weavling and a humanoid. Their abilities out of the box, they've got Dark Vision, and you'll notice here in my description for Dark Vision, I have a modified version of it from the raw version you'd find in the Pathfinder rulebooks. And that's because in my game world, pretty much everybody has at least low light vision, given that you're in the vaults, you're in a darklands environment. So, not having some sort of low light vision or dark vision, you would be dead meat pretty much right away because you can't see much. So, everybody has at least low light vision, or just about. And a few races then would have dark vision as their normal ability. So it's kind of the one step lower darkness wise than you'd find in the standard rulebooks. But because of that, because of the prevalence of all this, dark vision and low light vision, there is a drawback in those creatures that have dark vision out of the box. They can be easily blinded. They have light blindness. They have sensitivity to bright light. So that's what I'm talking about here. If they do get exposed to bright light, they have to do a DC 10 flat check or they become dazzled, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully that makes sense and it's mechanically sound in the game. It'll be something I'll be looking at and testing. For the most part, there are no bright light areas in my vaults world unless somebody has some magic or lights a whole bunch of stuff for whatever reason in order to blind people with dark vision. And this would be a defensive tactic that certain ancestries would use against their dark vision attackers. Silk Crafter, because they are spidery arachnid based creatures, they're trained in crafting. And if they're already trained. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Time out. I see an error. 1 second. And fixed. That's the magic of the internet. Not really. Anyway, if you become trained in crafting, if you're already trained in crafting from background or class, you instead are trained with a different skill your choice. That's standard fare from Pathfinder. And then because they are very good with weaving, threads, silk, right, spiders, they gain the specialty crafting, the weaving feat. So if you're weaving with silk thread to make it even a little sweeter, your bonuses to craft using your feat are doubled. So if you're weaving with just standard threads, you've got the specialty crafting feat. But if it's spider silk, you are the man or the woman with that. Your feat bonuses are doubled. I don't know if that's overpowered or not, but I felt it was appropriate for like this is one of this ancestry's things that they can do. They're awesome at using silk, spider silk. And then wall climber, they gain a climb speed, right? They are arachnid type creatures. They've got 8 limbs. They do have that standard humanoid form with 2 hands and 2 feet, but they've got a couple, 4 additional spidery legs sprouting typically from their shoulder areas, their back, that they can use to help climb and crawl around with as well. So you can kind of see these guys both running on 2 feet as well, sort of skittering about. And the other advantage that they have is they aren't off guard when climbing, so that's going to give them the ability to defend themselves better if somebody is trying to attack them. I believe the off guard penalty is -2 to your AC, or the enemy gets a +2 to hit you. I forget the exact nature of it. It's kind of like flat. I think it is the flat-footed of the remastered version. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that is the same term. So if you go back to flat footed, that was pre remaster. I believe it's called off guard now. So anyway, long story short, you're not off guard. However, while you're climbing, you can't use weapons and shields and all that sort of stuff. The extra limbs you have are not functional as prehensile weapon bearing things. They're mainly for kind of show a little bit. They do have the mechanical advantage here for being able to climb, but later feats, my intention is in the Ancestry, you'll see that there will be feats that can actually enhance the wall climbing. They can enhance using these extra limbs for perhaps being able to manipulate objects and such. So that'll be something to watch for later. Anyway, that's what's going on with the stock abilities of the Weavling. So I've got this goal for 6 heritages. I've got this foundational skeleton to build off of. I've got all that lore. So what did we come up with as I was working with Chatty Cathy here? Well, here you go. The first heritage that we came up with is called the Abyss Diver. The concept here is think smoke jumpers in the real world. The men and women who are diving out of airplanes to battle forest fires out in the middle of nowhere. These guys, for most part, the communities that they live in, these Weavling communities, they're up in the I don't say the rafters. They're up in the stalactites of these massive caverns. They're like, hundreds, thousands of feet, a mile up in the air, living up there pretty safely amongst their little spidery cities, enclaves. And so they would naturally be able to, dive out on threads to either snatch prey, defend the village, whatever it is, or to just simply travel. They're known as abyss divers, this particular lineage. Your kind are the embodiment of fearless exploration among the weavlings. Living high among the stalactites, abyss divers are renowned for their skill in diving into the deepest, most inaccessible parts of the vaults. They're adept at navigating the vertical abysses, moving with the combination of grace and daring that is unparalleled. Abyss divers are often the first to explore new caverns or to respond to emergencies, descending swiftly from the heights into the unknown below. So picture the vaults. There's a lot of unexplored areas, deep crevasses, that sort of thing. These guys are fearlessly going to just dive over the edge to see what's down there, with just their tether of silk line. Seen as intrepid explorers or bold scouts known for their willingness to plunge into the unknown, your heritage often serves the unique role of bridging the gap between the heights of the stalactites and the depths of the vaults. You gain vaulted agility ability. You receive a +2 circumstance bonus to acrobatics checks, aiding your ability to expertly navigate the perilous descents and complex terrain of stalactites. So, this vaulted agility is boosting your acrobatics checks by a +2 circumstance bonus. Pretty straightforward, right? That's the name of the ability. That's what it does. Next heritage we came up with, the Brood Child. Brood children are weavlings who bear a profound spiritual connection to Miska. I need to change that because her name is no longer Miska. Miska was the wolf spider from D&D. I adopted that as a female version of the wandering spider, who was my sort of wolf analog for my Morshael, my drow analog in my game world. But I am remastering this game. I am getting rid of OGL D&D stuff like everybody else, who's playing Pathfinder, I'm sure. And so I need to change this. So give me 1 second and I will edit it and give you the new name. Be right back. And there we go. I have fixed it. Brood children are weavlings who bear a profound resemblance and spiritual connection to Payanka, is how you'd pronounce that. Payanka is a primordial feminine, I don't want to say goddess because the goddesses are the parents of the primordials. She's the daughter of Volculus, my earth entity, my earth god. He is, volcanic and magmatic and earthquakes and stone. His daughter, his lovely, beautiful Payanka, his little wandering spider. She got herself into some trouble. Another story. But anyway, the Brood children are weavlings who bear a profound resemblance and spiritual connection to Payanka. If you want to know more about Payanka, Miska, go back to the session that I had, the last two. I think I was talking about her a lot when I first introduced the concept of the weavlings and then developed the lore. The lore of the weavlings contains the references that you need in case you're wondering about that. But Payanka, she is the entity that the Morshael, the drow analog in my game, they are looking to her for salvation, for escape from this hellhole, this Darklands vaults place that they're trapped in. And Payanka's influence has seeped into their bloodline, and so when those Morshael who volunteered to be experimented on in order to remove this tarnishing they were suffering, and the experimental accident corrupted them, changed them into weavlings. Some of the descendants, some of those weavlings are the Brood children. They embody the essence of Payanka's wayfinding and exploratory nature. Guided by her wisdom and foresight, these weavlings are revered as natural pathfinders and guardians of their communities, using their unique abilities to lead and protect in the spirit of Payanka. Their connection with Payanka is not only a matter of faith, but a tangible presence in their daily lives, guiding their steps and decisions. And Payanka's image, her avatar, Picture a giant walking crystal spider that is the like I said the daughter of Vulculus, and she would wander and explore the depths and recesses of her father's domain, the Earth, aka the Darklands, aka the Vaults. She wandered too far one day and got, like I said, in trouble. Anyway, these brood children have that crystalline carapace, that crystalline exoskeleton look to them, and they also kind of have still a little bit of that fey-ish visage as well. They're often seen as the chosen ones of Payenka, and with a responsibility to lead and guide your people. Your deep connection with the wandering spider makes you a respected figure in matters of exploration. You gain the Wayfinder's Insight ability. Wayfinder's Insight, you become trained in the survival skill. If you're already trained in survival from background or class, you instead become an expert in the skill. So instead of choosing something else, you become an expert level. If you're already an expert, well, then you're kind of screwed, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll change this. We'll see. In addition, when using the sense direction action during exploration mode, you treat a success as a critical success instead. So pretty much a brood child is going to be your person that's, scouting and navigating through the tunnels, that sort of thing, because they're really good at that skill. All right, so anyway, I got to do a little edit on that. You have to add the word spider, but beyond that, there's your brood child for you. Heritage number 3, Chaos Kist. These guys are going to kind of be the opposite of the Payanka spawn there, those brood children. Chaos Kist. Among Weavlings, you are an enigmatic figure marked by an inexplicable affinity for chaos. The origin of your unique connection to chaotic energy is the subject of speculation and mystery. Some believe that your powers are a result of the Choldrith's manipulation or Ahriman's lingering influence. Let me pause real quick again. In the previous video regarding lore and history, Ahriman is this chaotic entity who is serving the role of the Queen of Chaos from D&D lore. I am using Pathfinder's Ahriman, who is the evil leader of the Div, which are these elemental evil genie types living in the realm of Abaddon, I believe it's pronounced. Ahriman, he's a evil genie overlord, I guess you might think about him that way. Evil demon type of guy. Possessed poor Payenka during her wandering. And the two of them are now one, and they are trapped together and seeking a way. Well, he wants a way out. I guess she does too. But anyway, his influence is what is, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but it's definitely directing some activities within the game world, especially amongst the Morshael, and as you could see, the resulting chaos kist of the Weavlings. So anyway, he has had his influence manifest among the Choldrith, which I still need to go back and update that word because that is also a D&D lingo, so I want to change that. But Choldrith are these albino-y, pale weavlings, much more powerful, spiritual, magical creatures that have that evil influence, and if they kind of take hold amongst a weavling, culture, village, whatever, they corrupt it, and they become much more destructive. Ahriman is all about destruction, as a div would be. D-I-V, in case you don't know. Anyway, others argue that this is just mere coincidence, random twist of fate among, with the magical weave of the vaults, the dark lands, what's it, Feyres, I believe it's called, radiation, what I call warp fire. Regardless of the source, chaos-kissed weavlings are both feared and awed for their ability to channel and unleash chaotic forces. They walk a fine line, balancing the inherent unpredictability of their powers with their personal convictions and the perceptions of those around them. Weavlings like you often grapple with the uncertainty of your power's origin, and you are treated with a mix of suspicion and curiosity by others who ponder whether your abilities are a natural anomaly or a result of darker forces. You gain the Chaos Touch power. So this would be a homebrewed ability here, untested. We'll see what happens. Chaos Touch, it's an action. Do it once a day. You're able to unleash the unpredictable and disorienting nature of the chaotic energy swirling inside you. You make a melee spell attack against a creature within reach. On a hit, the target takes 2d4 void damage and becomes frightened 1. On a critical hit, the damage and frightened condition are doubled. And it's heightenable, so every level beyond first, you can increase the damage by 1. Again, this might not scale well. This might be too much. Maybe it should be every +2. Maybe that's just fine. I'm kind of basing it on comparable, cantrip type of abilities. So you're dealing 2d4 out of the box, and you can frighten and go to 3d4, 4d4, etc. as you level up. However, I think heightening, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of spells, this would be the spell rank, which would cap at 10. Whereas if I'm basing this on level, that would be pretty darn powerful as you got to 20th level, right? You'd be like 21d4. That's pretty freaking whoppingly crazy. Maybe it's too much. I don't know. I have to go and compare this to um, similar abilities in other ancestries and see if it makes any sense. So, and then the other thing I'm noticing here, if it's a spell attack, I need to designate what the bonus modifier would be, because if you're a non-caster, well, then you wouldn't have a spell attack now, would you? So maybe I just need to make that just a melee attack roll, like an unarmed strike or something like that. Maybe I'll do that. Let me pause real quick. Let me edit this while I'm thinking about it. Be right back. All right, I made my edits. So here's what I'm thinking. Chaos Touch, it's an action once a day. You unleash that energy, and that's what I'm saying here. Make an unarmed melee attack. I believe that's the correct Pathfinder 2E language. So in other words, you got to reach out and hit something with your hand. So this, I think that would be strength or perhaps dexterity. Again, I'm not 100% sure on that. Against the creature within reach, on a hit, you do the 2d4 void damage and it becomes frightened. On a critical hit, the damage and frightened condition are doubled. The damage increases, I modified this, the damage increases by a d4 every 4 levels. So the levels you'd get a new ancestry feat. 2d4 at 5th, 3d4, 4d4, 5d4 by 17th level. So that is the idea for that one. I'm almost thinking maybe just make it a saving throw to kind of avoid the whole what you got to touch with, and if you're trained or not trained in touching the creatures, whatever. I just have it make a saving throw against your class DC. That might be the easiest thing. Why don't I do that? Let me do one more edit on this to kind of resolve whether or not you've got unarmed melee attacks or not. Be right back. All right, I think I've got it this time. Let's check this out. So, Chaos Touch, one action. Once a day, you're able to unleash the unpredictable and disorienting nature of the chaotic energy swirling inside you. Choose a creature in reach, which should be 5 feet in most instances, to make a reflex save. So, it's trying to get away from you against your class DC. So, that'll standardize it for everybody. If it fails, it's going to take 2d4 void damage and become frightened 1. If the save is a critical fail, it's going to take double damage and the frightened condition increases to 2. If it's successful, it takes half damage and avoids the frightened condition completely. And then the damage will increase by a d4 for every 4 levels, essentially whenever you'd get a new ancestry feat. I think that scales well. I think it fits the main Pathfinder mechanics. So hopefully that'll work in an actual, game setting. We shall see. I don't know if the player's taking the Chaos Kiss, so unknown. In case any of you end up playing one of these, let me know and see how it works. All right, hey, what's my 4th heritage we came up with? Well, here it is. It's the Fey skin. Fey skins bear the closest resemblance to their Morshael lineage. Exposure to the flesh warping process has somehow heightened their Fey essence, augmenting the symbiosis their ancestors shared with the natural world. So, in order to cure themselves of this tarnishing, the Morshael reached out to Payenka's emissary for help, and she gave them guidance using earthly fey magic, some ancient alchemical processes to rid these Morshael of this this corroding whatever change they were undergoing from their exposure to the vaults. And this horrific result was these weavlings, but some of them didn't fully go spider mode. Some of them still kind of look more Shyaelish, so they look more, I guess, dridery, if you want to think about it that way. Although they don't have the bloated, centaur kind of body underneath them, but they've got, basic fey-ish appearance, but twisted by spider legs sprouting out of their backs, bristly spines, some, spidery fangs, that kind of thing. Anyway, they still have a decent attachment though to their fey-ness for some reason. These weavlings are not only reminiscent of a more Shyaelan appearance, but also in their intrinsic connection to the primal forces of the earth. They feel a deep connection to the natural world and a responsibility to protect it, embodying the legacy of their forebears. So they might look hideous as hell, but they're not evil and gonna go, tear your stomach open. Choose a cantrip from the primal spell list. You can cast this spell as a primal innate spell at will. A cantrip is heightened to a spell level equal, should be spell rank, equal to half your level rounded up. You can change this cantrip to a different one from the same list once per day by meditating to realign yourself with your Fey blood. So the refocus action. This is a 10-minute activity that has the concentrate trait. So I think I need to put, just call it refocus. Again, now let me edit this. Hey, this is homebrew, right? You're going to have to edit as you go. That's fine. 1 second. Let me change a couple of the wording here a little bit. All right, I think I fixed the wording of the second paragraph here. So you're going to choose a cantrip from the primal spell list. You can cast that spell as a primal innate spell. Maybe this should be worded. You can cast this cantrip as a primal innate spell at will. A cantrip is heightened to a spell rank equal to half your level rounded up. You can change this cantrip to a different one from the same list once per day by meditating to realign yourself with your Fey blood during a refocus action. I think that is clear what the intention is. So during that 10-minute refocusing short rest kind of idea in Pathfinder, you should be able to change your cantrip if you want once a day. That can actually be kind of pretty useful, right? All right, so let's go on. 5th heritage. What do we got? The silk spinners. Silk spinners are the epitome of the weavling's affinity for silk and webbing, taking this ancestral trait to extraordinary heights. These weavlings are not just craftsmen, they are artists and tacticians with silk, capable of manipulating it in inventive and versatile ways. Their deep understanding of silk's properties allows them to use it for more than just crafting. They can create impromptu structures, ensnare opponents, or even maneuver through their environment with the aid of their silk. Silk spinners are respected for their unique talents, which blend the traditional art of silk crafting with practical, often ingenious applications. You might be seen as inventive and resourceful, especially in situations that require quick thinking and improvisation. Your deep connection to the art of silk crafting, viewing it not just as a skill but as an integral part of your identity and culture. A little bit of grammar issues there. You gain the web snare ability. Web snare, it's an action. It's got the concentrate and manipulate traits. You can create a web snare to restrain an enemy. The web can be placed in a square within 30 feet. So you got a 30-foot range on this. It creates a 5-foot radius area of difficult terrain, so that would cut movement speeds by half. An enemy that moves into the area or starts its turn there must succeed on a reflex save against the class DC or be immobilized for 1 round. So it's difficult terrain. You move in there or you start your turn there, reflex save, or you're immobilized. An immobilized creature can use an action to attempt a new reflex save to free itself. The web persists for 1 minute or until a creature escapes it. It can be destroyed. It has a hardness of 5 and 10 hit points. My only confusion or thought here is that it lasts for a minute. You can escape it. You can move into it, presumably get immobilized again. But then why is the immobilization only lasting for 1 round? I kind of feel it should last until you escape it. Right? So I don't know, because if it only lasts for one round, that means your next turn you can get out no matter if you were stuck or not. But then if you move back in, would you be immune? Right? Or the one round ends, you're still standing in it. Do you have to make another save? So that's a little bit confusing to me. I'm thinking you don't need to specify that it's for one round. I think you just say, hey, you got to make another save to get out, or you got to hack your way out, something like that. I don't know. If anybody has a better idea of wording it, but I think I'm going to take out the one round duration. Maybe that's a standard. I'll have to go and look at some of the any other. This is more like a snare than it is a. I have to look at the snare rules, which, if I remember, I don't think they aren't in the remastered version of Pathfinder. So I need to look at this. I'm gonna go ahead and edit it though, so I get rid of that one round because I don't think that makes sense to me. I mean, as a GM, I can you know conceptualize what it means in my head. So if it comes up in game, I think I could explain it. But I don't know. It's just a little bit odd the way it seems like redundant to the wording. All right, let me pause real quick and kind of tweak it. All right, I think I've got it. I ended up redoing the whole thing. I was looking at the web spell and I was looking at Tanglefoot cantrip. And I think this most represents or similar to the Tanglefoot cantrip. So that is what I used as the template for how to reword web snare. Uh, I couldn't just say, oh, you gain the Tanglefoot cantrip because that is the way that's worded. It's based on your spell attack and all that stuff. And again, you might not be a caster. So I reworded it so that it's based off of your class DC. The web spell itself was my original conception for idea here, but I think later on as a heritage ancestry feat that the web spell is going to be something you can get, let's say 5th level or something like that. So I didn't want to have like a baby web spell here and then a big web spell later. Let's just make this like you shoot out a string of sticky web and then snare somebody with it, like a tanglefoot. So that's what you're seeing here. Web snare, it's one action. It's got the attack trait and the manipulate trait because you need to have your hand on it still. So will lead to a multiple attack penalty if you try to do more attacks with it. You can project a sticky web from your spinnerets, targeting a single creature within 30 feet. The creature must make a reflex save against your class DC to avoid becoming ensnared. Success, the target's unaffected. So it's a save or suck type of situation. I might tone that down and maybe they take a -5 foot penalty or something like that. We'll see. And then a critical success, you'd be complete unaffected. Failure, the target's -10 foot circumstance penalty to speed for a round. It can attempt to escape against your class DC to remove the penalty. So the escape is an action. I think you either use athletics or maybe acrobatics to get out of something. So that would actually cause the enemy to have to spend one of its resources, action economy, in order to get loose. Critical failure, the target gains the immobilized condition, so it can't move at all, can't take a move action, and takes a 10-foot circumstance penalty to its speeds for a round. It can attempt to escape, and I believe the round is lingering, so after it does escape, it still has a -10 foot. At least that's the way I was interpreting. I think it was the web spell was like that. It can attempt to escape against your class DC to remove the penalty and the immobilized condition. And then I made it so that it was heightenable. So you can attempt to ensnare one additional target within range for every 4 levels beyond the first. So similar to what I did with the last heritage ability, you can target more things at 5th level, 9th, 13th, and 17th. So it makes it more usable as you become stronger and a better silk spinner. So I think that'll be a useful little thing you can do, little gadget, right? You're shooting like spider webs at people. I think that's funny. Should be interesting. All right, then the last heritage is the Web Watcher. Web Watchers are the vigilant protectors of their enclaves, adapted to the dangers of the Underearth. With exoskeletons fortified to endure the rigors of their environment, they are a formidable presence. Their keen senses, attuned to the slightest vibrations and movements, make them exceptional guardians. Ever watchful, these weavlings are the first line of defense against threats, using their innate abilities to sense danger and alert their kin. As a web watcher, you are often entrusted with the security and early warning responsibilities in your enclave. Your perceptive nature leads many of your kind to roles of scouts, lookouts, or protectors, where your ability to sense vibrations and movements is a critical asset. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to perception checks, reflecting your heightened alertness and sensory acuity. Additionally, you have the web sense, imprecise tremor sense, with a range of 30 feet. Web sense is only active when you are in contact with the same web or vibration conducting surface as the creature you are seeking. This ability allows you to detect and pinpoint the location of such creatures even when not in direct line of sight. All right, so this one's a little bit tricky in the sense I think the GM's got to use some, you know, magic powers to figure out exactly what it can do. The perception bonus is straightforward. You get a +1 on your checks. That is nothing special or weird. Weird. The web sense is where there's some gray area here. Tremor sense can be kind of powerful because it's this, you can pretty much see things that you can't see. You feel them moving. The way it's worded, I mean, if you use the hardcore interpretation, it's got to be some web that you're on, which in the grand scheme of things, how often are you as a player character going to be in a web? Even though you're a spidery creature, unless you're in your home territory, it's not going to be webby. So if you make it that strict, then this power is kind of useless, or 99% useless. So very niche. If you make it any conductive surface like stone, well then it's going to be maybe OP because you've got tremor sense all over the place. But maybe that's okay. So I kind of left it a little bit loose here. Vibration conducting surface. So it could be a web. Maybe it's a bridge. Maybe it's something more flexible than stone. So wood floor, although there's really not too many wood floors. There'd be zerk wood or like fungal floors. So I don't know. I think it maybe as a D or GM, you can kind of interpret this in different ways. So I'm leaving it a little bit loose like that because it's gonna be kind of hard to say exactly what vibration you're picking up on. Um, you know. So I don't know. If anybody has any thoughts on that, you can leave your concept or ideas in the comments below. I'll leave it like this for now. And this way I can judge it as a GM and say, yeah, the surface is just way too rigid. You're not feeling any vibrations. Exactly when it's soft enough or flexible enough, I don't know. We'll see. All right, so there is that one. That is the final heritage. Let's see, we're sitting here a little bit over 30 minutes, so I'm gonna end the vid here. Well, actually, yeah. So I'm gonna end the vid here because what I want to get into next is these are the heritages that go with the ancestry. What I've done next is I then came up with heritage feats. So each heritage is going to have its own ancestry feat that goes with it that helps augment the web watcher, the silk spinner, the fey skin, the chaos kist, the brood child, and the abyss diver. So come back and check out the next vid that I'm going to do that's going to get into what these heritage feats are that tie into these heritages. And I've also put together my ancestry feats for this particular ancestry. Duh. I've got a dozen first level feats I want to talk about. And then once that's done, so I think that's going to be one video after this. Once that's all done, then I want to get back to the worm seed. I left them hanging. I left you all hanging who were watching my conversion of 5th edition Dragonborn, Gem Dragonborn, over to Pathfinder 2nd edition Worm Seed. And I left you hanging in a similar position where I had come up with the ancestry, but then I wanted to get into the heritages. What were the 6 types of worm seed and how do they differ from each other? So stay tuned for that one. Like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. throw your comments below if anything you thought today was interesting or stupid, whatever your opinion is. I'm willing to hear it. Notification, right? Click the bell so that you know when those next videos are coming out, and you can follow along from there. All right, appreciate you taking the time, checking out the vid. See you on the next one. Have a good day. Peace out.